thank you very much for coming today. So my name's Ed Woodrow. I'm the Head of Business Development for OEG Subsea. Just wanted to take the opportunity to run through kind of some introductory ideas on cable reliability, cable installation, and how these things can maybe be improved in the future. So just a quick introduction to OEG. Been in business now for 50 plus years, over £600 million turnover in year 2025, over 1,200 offshore wind projects throughout the different companies within OEG Subsea, within OEG Renewables, over 1,500 employees worldwide, 80,000 assets. A lot of those are from our parent company OEG on the oil and gas sector, where it's the CCUs, containerized cargo units. And on the renewable side, there was 15 acquisitions between the year 2021 and now, and we'll run through some of that, but obviously I'm coming from the Subsea side, but we cover a number of different areas. So what do OEG do? Basically we work throughout the timeline of a wind farm project, from development through to construction, all the way through the offshore logistics and IRM period, and also into the decommissioning. The OEG Renewables is split into three divisions. Marine, which is our vessel side. We have a number of CTVs around the world, 4 in Taiwan, and I think currently 8 or 9 in Europe. We then have topside, which is things like temporary power, marine control, blade repairs, balance of plant, IRM. And then I come from the Subsea division, which looks at a number of subsea operations such as ROVs, diving, cable repairs, cable installation, and seabed preparation. So why I'm here today, I wanted to introduce some of these topics of why cable repairs, what cable installation repairs are still being needed, why there's some failures during the installation period, what can be done about them, because I think a lot of people know about these problems, but they are still happening, and we've been putting these cables in on offshore wind farms now for over 20 years, but some of these issues still keep happening. So why the cable installation risk matters. Cable reliability really can be won and lost during the installation phase. Why is that a problem? Installation quality. If you've got problems, you're going to lead to poor installation, which leads to cable defects. And the defects can lead to early failure of the cable. Repair challenges. You have to go back out to repair that cable. You've got large vessels, you've got a lot of planning time, you've got weather dependency. So the cable that goes down, at the very best, is going to be out of operation for 1 or 2 months. If it's an inter-array, potentially even longer if it's an export. And that whole time you're losing reliability, you're losing a reputational risk, and obviously the money situation. So that's where the impacts of the failure comes from. Power disruption, safety and reputational risk, and obviously the loss of revenue. Installations are often undertaken on time and cost pressures. Tight schedules can potentially lead to more errors, and delays leading to higher costs and HSE risks. This is where early in bringing in a contractor early really can help with some of those issues. Get them in early, get the understanding from the main contractors how they're going to lay this cable, what they can do, how they're going to go about it. That early intervention really does help. So some of the typical risk installation areas, really a lot of it stems from the uncertainty and not knowing the full detail of what you're going to be facing once you go below the sea, whether that's seabed conditions, UXOs, other boulder risks, shallow water challenges in contractor interface. So the seabed conditions, that might be seabed uncertainty, soft and variable soils. Not all seabeds are made the same. Obstructions and debris, burial depth variability. You might be looking for a 2 meter minimum burial depth, but if you haven't done the right kind of surveys, you might have a rock layer within 1 meter, so you're not going to get your full 2 meters of burial. So that at that point, you're going to have to put some other measures in place to mitigate that. UXO and boulder interaction. This is obviously one of the big kind of hot topics at the minute. The UXO all around the Western Europe, that's a big issue, whether that be identifying it so you can route around it, or actually then doing something about those UXOs to get them out of the way for the clearance to get them out of the way. So like say, do you route deviate around it, or do you potentially have exposure and damage to the cables later? Shallow water challenges, which is where my heart lies. As soon as you get into the shallow water, say maybe less than 10 meters of water depth, you really do you're more subject to the actual current sea state conditions. The shore end complexity, when you're bringing it ashore, there can be differences in the strata of the seabed. Obviously the tidal and the weather windows, you're a lot more susceptible to them when you're in the shallow water conditions. And also contractor interface. If you've got a number of different contractors all trying to work on the same cable at the same time, to the client, that can be an issue. For the the multiple work scopes and the schedule alignment, that's really where a lot of these things can become a problem, and that's why we obviously need to have a better interaction with the different subcontractors to make sure that the issues don't persist. So what could we do to actually reduce that risk? One of the things that you can look at, the cheapest repair is the one that you don't have to do. So that's something we really need to try and improve on. So there was some of the risk reduction before installation, looking at proper route preparation and route planning, seabed uncertainty, make sure you know what kind of seabed you're going to be coming up to, finding out and mapping those hazards, and route optimizing. Again, some of these subsea cables very expensive. If you can optimize your route to avoid some of these things, you're saving on the cable, you're saving on the cost, and that's going to improve the overall life cycle of the project. Seabed prep, what are we going to do to establish that clear corridor? UXOID and clearance, we discussed boulders, but also route preparation and POGR. Some of it needs to be, the post trenching might have limitations on what kind of angles it can handle on the actual sand dunes or mega ripples. So sometimes we'll go in and actually pre-sweep some of those, so it gives you a flatter area to lay the cable, and that allows you to be more efficient, leading to further efficiency and quality improvement. Really preparing that seabed allows you faster, safer, higher quality installation. And one of the main reasons for that, obviously, the fewer days. If you've got a cable installation vessel that's over £100,000 a day, the fewer days that you need that vessel, it's obviously going to lead to huge cost savings. Reduced risk on the installation tools and the methods. There are often things that we hear in the market where the actual tools have been damaged because they've overexposed them or they've worked them outside of the parameters of what they've been built to do. Consistent burial depth and alignment, that's important for later down the line. Knowing what the consistent burial depth, make sure it's outside of access of the anchors and stuff that you might find when you're in high traffic areas. And at the bottom you can see some of the images of some of the services that we provide as OEG, whether it be the shore end cable installation, ROVs, the UXOs that we move. In the middle we've got our boulder clearance tool, then we've got our CJET ECFE tool, which is controlled flow excavation. That's where we use it for either cleaning out pre-cut trenches or leveling the sand waves. So long-term asset protection, from the installation, that can lead to the long-term reliability. But once you've got that cable on the seabed, we also then need to look at the long-term. The job doesn't finish once the cable is on the seabed. We need to understand what might happen in the future, and things change. You might lay your cable one summer, by the next summer the cable can be exposed if there's high sand wave mobility. So what do you have to do? Obviously post-lay inspection and survey. You need to understand what you've put on the seabed, where it is and in what condition it's in. Making sure there's no free spans, which is where you might have a gully and you've pulled your cable across that, and because it's gone tight, your cable is now in suspension. That can lead to issues with water passing past it, leading to vibrations, or just extra external forces being able to find on the exposed cable. Protection strategies. Once the cable's down there, you've probably got a good idea earlier on from your route engineering what other services you're going to have to do at a later date. Is it going to be rock placement? Are we going to put concrete mattresses on the cable? Cable protection systems. Obviously another hot topic with the cable protection systems, the amount of failures that we've had over the last 10, 15 years. What are the best measures to be put in place? Verification of the burial. So once you've buried the cable, is it to specification? Is it to depth? Use of sonar, sub-bottom profiling, multi-beam surveys, or we all need to understand exactly what it is we've actually put down there. And identification of shallow water areas. If the cable hasn't reached depth, what can we go back there? Can we try and do some post-lay burial? Do we need to put extra protection on the cable? These are all the kind of long-term reliability that we need to look for. And the long-term reliability also, like I say, doesn't end with the installation. We need to maybe look at it 6 months later, a year later, 5 years later, to make sure that things haven't changed. There hasn't been cable exposure due to sand wave mobility. And then one of the other areas I touched on earlier, if you've got a number of different contractors on the project, making sure how can we improve that interaction through it. One of the areas where OEG would obviously like to speak to you all is that we can obviously provide a number of these services. So that means we can provide a RAP bid, We can provide you a number of the different services all through one point of contact, one contract, removes the requirement for a number of different contracts. So that's where a company like us, where we feel that we can bring a lot to the market. Like I say, risk reduction through integration, that integrated approach identifies and mitigates the risks. Improved communication and data continuity. That data flow back to the client needs to be seamless, needs to be understood. Things can't get lost in translation. Risk reduction through integration, again, access to that reliable real-time data enables us to make better decisions and actually to learn from them as well in the future. And then improved communication and data connectivity. That strong collaboration between contractors is really at the foremost, is so important for the ongoing success of the project. So just a couple of key takeaways, that's nearly it, of some very nice pictures of some of the different services that we do here at OEG. Installation phase, critical to the ongoing performance of your cable. Let's get it right at the first time, let's get it right at the beginning. Like I say, we've been putting these cables in for 15, 20 years, a lot of the time successful, but we still all hear that there's issues with cable installation, so what can be done to improve that? Risk mitigation strategies, put those mitigation strategies in early, get the contractors involved, get an understanding of where you're going to be putting these cables in, what issues you might face down the line, how can we improve that? Role of integrated services, ensuring that you have the right contractors at the right time for the right money, and that will play a key part in the long-term reliability of that cable. And again, client partnership and support. We're here. OEG would love to be a partner of choice. We have the whole array of services that we can provide there. From actually storing the cable before it goes in, like the CUXOs, the cable prepper, the seabed preparation, moving the boulders. These are all services that we can put in as a big one-wrap bid and hopefully be able to provide you guys with the kind of services that we'd like to do. So unfortunately, I don't think we can do a Q&A session. I'm available here. I'm going to be on the stand for the next half hour. Then we've got a drinks reception at 3 o'clock, which we'd like to invite you all to. Please come along, have a chat, and we'll see if we can be of service to you all.